welcome back to the channel, and thanks for having a look. If it's your first time looking or you're a subscriber or you come back for another look, thanks heaps. I really do appreciate that. And I've been asked the question a few times across the 15mm stuff versus the 6mm stuff and what they look like. And the question really was, what do they look like next to each other if we're going to make a comparison of scales. So I decided that I'd get a few models out and we'll have a look at that. So you can see the size difference. See, say something like this T62 here and this T72 here, or the Abrams here in 6mm and Abrams in 15mm. So the comparison is, huge. And I'll just grab something like this tank in 6mm, which is less than an inch long on this ruler. And if you grab something like the T72 in 15mm or 1:100 scale, which is about 3 inches long. So it sort of gives you a bit of a comparison, and people ask about the sizing of them. So I'll just move those guys just there and then have a look at the Abrams. So even though the Abrams is quite detailed, if you look at that in 6mm, and that's a tank we built on the channel, and then you bring up, say, an Abrams in 15mm or 1:100 scale, you can see they are fairly similar with their detail, but obviously something big is going to be better detailed. But that's sort of that size comparison that people asked a lot about on the channel. So yeah, there is a fair size difference. So I find that with things like this 6mm stuff or 1:285 scale stuff from GHQ is where I buy all my 6mm stuff, and most of my 15mm stuff is Battlefront or Team Yankee, Flames of War stuff. For the smaller stuff, obviously you can have a smaller battleground if you want to have a battle. So that's a couple of tanks, and we'll just move those tanks just out of the shot. So, and for other things for comparison, so this is a 6mm artillery gun that we built. Also there's a video on the channel, and then there's a partly built here, the same gun but in 15mm. So that sort of gives you a size comparison. Again, this is a project started before the channel was started, so I'll redo this I'll buy another set and redo it, but that's not what this video is about. It's about looking at that scale difference. So that sort of gives you an idea on the scale difference. I'll bring that up closer, and then I'll bring the 6mm one up. So they are, the size difference is a fair bit there. That's an artillery gun. We'll have a look at the Brownwater Navy. We did some boats for the Brownwater Navy as built on the channel. So that's a 6mm one, and I'll bring in a 15mm one that was built before the channel was started. So we'll redo them as well on the channel, but that sort of gives you a size comparison. If we sort of line them up along the ruler, this 6mm one is just over an inch, and then you can have the 15mm one that's about 3.5 inches long. So quite a big difference in size. And with stuff like this, if you're going to do rivers and things like that, as part of your wargaming, you'll find that this 6mm stuff, you can just have so much more of it in such a bigger sort of area, battle zone, where it's going to be a little bit smaller with 15mm or 1:100 scale stuff. We'll also have a look at a Huey helicopter. So this is one that was just built and I just used for wargaming. It's just a basic sort of build, but we'll do something like that on the channel. And here's a 6mm helicopter that we built on the channel, and we get them close together like that. You can see that scale difference, how much that scale changes with 6mm to 15mm, or 1:100 to 1:280, 1:285 scale. So yeah, fair a fair size difference there too with them. Another thing we'll have a look at is a BMP 3, and there's a BMP 3 there. Obviously the BMP 3, the 15mm one, so the one on the left here, was started before the channel was started, so we'll do another build of them too. And this guy here, this BMP 3 in 6mm, was built on the channel, so there's a video up about that. And I mean, I'll bring it up so you can sort of compare the detail across the top. If I turn that one around, put it in my hand, and then compare the detail to something in 15mm. The 6mm detail is pretty good for the scale, so you sort of can see a fair bit of the details there. So, and look at another patrol boat. So that's one we did on the channel as part of that Brown Water Navy 6mm Vietnam build we're doing. That's one of those boats. And if we looked at that in 15mm, now you're starting to see, sorry it's so dirty, it's a project that was started before the channel and haven't got around to finish it, but there you can sort of start to see the actual size difference in that scale, how that scale can really start to jump up. You know, you've gone from this size to this size. It's, you know, 1 to 85 to 1 to 100, and it's just a massive jump in size. Then that's when you're really starting to notice it. And lastly, we just have a quick look at a hind. So that's a hind that was painted once again before the channel was started, and just one I gained with for a long time. And here I'll bring in a hind in that 6mm size, and you can just see again how small that looks compared to say 15mm stuff. And if we did line it up on the ruler there, you're looking, you know, that's 2.5 inches roughly in 6mm. And then if you do the same comparison with 15mm, you're looking at, like, it's out of the shot here, but 7.5 inches. So no, it is quite big. So that's just a quick look at let's see if we can zoom out there. You can see a bit of it there. So that's pretty messy, isn't it? But that's an idea on those scales. And people sort of, yeah, quite often ask, what do they look like when they're compared to each other, when they're next to each other? And there's a massive size difference, I suppose you'd say, with the sizing of them. And I hope that sort of just fills that little question for people who want to have a look at 6 versus 15, what you should go for. Really, it's up to you. But if you have a small space, 6mm is brilliant. If you have a bigger area that you can use, 15mm is good. But even a bigger area, you can do 6mm. You're just having a lot more of it. So personal preference, I think, but I like both of them, so I'll use both. Hope that helps. And then we'll do another video where we do buildings. We'll look at buildings in 6 and 15mm and some other vehicles too. Thanks for watching, and thanks for all your support. See you on the next video.